Definitely. So, mentioning the first round aspect for you, how was that process of draft night?
Oh wow, that's that. Whew, that's an unbelievable moment. Um, it was a paradigm shift, as they would say. I can still see my mom and dad hugging and crying each other, hugging on each other and crying right now, because the struggle was, so to speak, eliminated. And walking into the house with uh, the cable turned off was eliminated. Opening up the refrigerator with nothing but I say the baking soda man sitting up in there, and at least he was doing his job keeping the refrigerator fresh, but but he didn't really have any food to try to keep fresh. So the Arm and Hammer baking soda box that sits up in the refrigerator, but lack of food was over. Uh, Wondering how you gonna make it next month was coming to an end. So to see that happen, man, that's why whenever I look at anything where an athlete is getting drafted or somebody's opening up a business or they get hired for a business to where now it changes their life, um, man, it's phenomenal. So my draft day, not only to hear my name called, but to understand now looking back how big of a paradigm shift that was. And also it did bring on a lot of other people talking about, you remember me? I remember you when you were this little. I'm your cousin, your fifth cousin on your dad's side. So not only did it help my immediate family, which I'm the only child, my mom and dad, get things that they only dreamed of previously. Now, my dad said, "Hey, I saw this riding lawnmower at Home Depot." I'm like, "How much does it cost?" About $4,000. All right, go get it. Versus opening up a magazine and you're like, "Man, I only wished." So, but yeah, it was a big paradigm shift, and I was just happy to see my parents happy, and so reality, a dream come to reality.
Definitely. The Panthers here in Charlotte, they took care of you. That phone call from Richardson, how was that? How did it go down for you?
Oh man, I'm like, it's so many things that whew, being drafted by the Panthers represented. Um, but the call, to hear the owner, to hear the head coach, Dom Capers at the time, Bill Polian, who I think is, we all know he's a Hall of Famer, GM, um, and just to see the excitement of the community. Because they already, of course, had the basketball team at the Charlotte Hornets, but now they're getting an NFL franchise, man. And I still remember people couldn't quite call it the Carolina Panthers because we so used to calling the team by the city. So like the Atlanta Falcons, you had the Dallas Cowboys, you had the Pittsburgh Steelers, all those are cities. So when they talked about the Panthers, they would say, "Oh, you play for the Charlotte Panthers, don't you?" No, it's not the Charlotte Panthers, it's the Carolina Panthers. So, but to talk to them and then to not only, when I look back on it, these guys traded up 10 spots uh, to draft me. Now, Carolina could have started with a defensive lineman. And again, this is the inaugural season. You're trying to win right now. And that's what the NFL was doing. That's why Jacksonville and Carolina, they gave them all those draft picks and allowed them to, pick players from different teams. because they want the Carolina Panthers and the Jacksonville Jaguars to be competitive right now. Unlike back in the day when Tampa Bay came out, I think Tampa Bay went 0-27 or something like that before they won their first game. So they had to build their team through the draft and whatever was left over on the sideline or on the side of the road as far as players. But the NFL wanted the 1995 Carolina Panthers and the 1995 Jacksonville Jaguars to be competitive right away. And to have Carolina come up 22 spots and make me the first defensive selection ever in that franchise's history, I'm like, that said a lot. I didn't think about it back then, but it says a lot about what they thought about me coming from an HBCU college. So I just wished I would have learned a little bit more, because I know I was athletically. I'm like, all due respect, Jerry Rice, I think he's the greatest receiver to ever play the game. He is the GOAT at that position. He just did everything right. I'm like, I just feel like covering Jerry. I'm like, I was athletic enough to do it. But mentally, I think coming from that small school did put a little pressure on me. And I was playing a little bit slower than I actually was. I was faster, should I say. And I wasn't playing up to my ability. And but Carolina, I'm like, oh man, it was phenomenal. Going to Clemson. I remember them days driving all the way down to Clemson. We practiced in Rock Hill. I stayed in Charlotte, so I drive to Rock Hill and back and forth for every day for practice. And then on Saturdays, we meet up. We would leave on Sunday. We would stay at the hotel on Saturday night, and then Sunday we would take the bus from Winthrop. Was it Winthrop? I think it's Winthrop in Rock Hill, and drive all the way to South Carolina to play at Clemson's Memorial Stadium. And the first game we won was against the New York Jets in Clemson, and that happened to be the first game that I got my first interception. So, but yeah, it's a lot of fun memories in Carolina. So, frozen tundra, Green Bay. I got all kinds of stories about Carolina.
So, with the Panthers, I don't know if you saw it coming, going to New England and playing them in the Super Bowl, but the 2 Super Bowls with New England, what stands out in your mind about those runs to the championship with the Patriots?
Well, I'll say this before I start talking about the Patriots. Again, I thank Carolina for everything, man. I'm like, you see, I got, my teams that I played for, but I got 2 Carolina Panther helmets, and I got 1 helmet of everybody else. So Carolina is very special. And those helmets, those 2 helmets, Carolina, one is a helmet signed by the first ever Carolina Panther team. So people who on that 53-man roster, that team that went 7-9, shocked everybody, beat the 49ers, who had won the Super Bowl the previous year against the San Diego Chargers, who are now the Los Angeles Chargers. But the second helmet is the championship season, 1996. We went 12-4, beat the 49ers twice that year, and went on to Green Bay and lost, of course, to Brett Favre and the Green Bay Packers. And it was cold up in Green Bay. Yeah, Jack. But, that Carolina had a lot of fun memories. So fast forwarding, when we played Carolina, I'm in New England now, and we played Carolina. When I saw everybody on the sideline, it was, I never left. Jerry Richardson, we greeted each other. Some of the coaches were still there. Muhsin Muhammad was still there. Mark Carrier was helping out, in the organization. So, we all embraced, and it seemed like I had a flashback to my rookie year, and I had a flashback to when Mr. Richardson told us the very first meeting that we had as Carolina Panther organization and team. He says, I have a 10-year now it was 1995, okay, 2003. He wasn't too far off now. It is almost 10 years, and the Carolina Panthers were in the Super Bowl, and I just happened to be there, but I was just with another team. So how ironic is that? But to play Carolina, you know, it's almost like, you know, you're like, wow, man, do I really want to play against these guys? I'm like, anybody but Carolina, you know. It's like going up against your brother. You're like, man, I don't want to go against my brother, man, because you still got love there. Anybody but my brother, man, anybody but my brother. But no, it was being in New England, I learned a lot. I think Bill Belichick is one of the smartest coaches that I've ever played for. It's not just by chance that organization wins like they win. I think Tom Brady learned a lot from Bill Belichick, and Tom just took what Bill taught him and turned it into the way Tom want to do it. But I think the principles all fall back, majority of them, what Bill Belichick taught him.
Definitely. So you and Ty Law, that experience with him, he was a great corner in the league. How did his experiences impact you as a player going on to other teams after New England?
Well, when I got to New England, what was so great about me and Ty playing together, when I first got to New England, Ty used to play like the best receiver. He would go left and right. He would flip-flop. And when I got there, Bill felt like, you know, hey, we can play left and right. So during my years there, we never did flip. We never did flip. Ty stayed on the left side, I stayed on the right side. So whoever we get, that's who we get. But I do remember the NFL Network, you know, they always were doing the top 10. You know, the top 10 best quarterbacks, the top 10 best receiver duo. So they had one called the top 10 best cornerback tandems. And me and Ty were not in the mentioning of the top 10 because you got some great tandems. You know, you got Frank Hanford Dixon and Frank Minifield, you know, in Cleveland. I'm like, the dog pound, I'm like, them guys there, man, they were real great partners. And you just look at any other tandem, but we did get mentioned. And there would be a part in the NFL Network program where they're talking about the top 10, and they'll say, like, those that just missed the cut, you know, so to speak. And they showed me and Ty, you know. And when I talked to some of the other coaches, Mike Shanahan, I think he's a great coach, you know, they all would say that, you know, we had a pretty good defense. Up in New England. Me, Ty Law, Rodney Harrison, Eugene Wilson, Asante Samuel would come in and on third down. So I learned a lot from Ty. The competitiveness, we would be competitive. My first year there, which was the most interceptions that I had in my career, we tied for 6. So it's like I would pick one off one game and Ty come back and say, I'm not gonna let y'all do me, you know. So he'll find some kind of way to get the quarterback to throw him an interception. So, but see, that's the fun part about having guys that are athletic and you challenge each other. So yeah, we learned a lot during our years there together.
Definitely. So with those experiences in the Super Bowl, what were some of the lessons that you learned through those 2 journeys to the Super Bowl?
Ooh, man, the second time through is always the toughest. That's a principle there. I think that works on anything. The second time through is always the toughest. And what I mean by that is the second Super Bowl was the toughest because the first time you win, sometimes people can say, oh, you snuck up on me. You know, you can catch somebody with a right or whatever. They say, oh, okay, you caught me sleeping, so to speak. Then they say, okay, try it again. So now they're ready for you. So that's why I think you rarely see teams win back-to-back championships because it's tough to get there. Now, Kansas City had an opportunity to do it. And really, I think Kansas City, just my opinion, if it had not been for New England beating them in Kansas City that year, I think Kansas City would have been or could have been the first team to win 3 straight Super Bowls. I just think that's how dynamic they were. And of course, I know against, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year, they had a lot of issues, lost both of their left tackles. Then there was a problem on the coaching staff, and they didn't do great as far as adjusting to what Tampa Bay was doing. But Kansas City was dominant. But the winning that second Super Bowl was the toughest because everybody knew that we were the champions, and they were trying to knock us off. So we had to raise our level of play even higher. So I've learned that if you're going to do something twice, you better bring double the energy, double the mentality, double the whatever, time, talent, treasure. You got to double it, sometimes triple it if you want to come out on the other end as a winner again.
For sure. So scrolling forward until your last NFL season, what were some of the players and coaches that had the most impact on you, player-wise and on the field?
Coaching, I would say Mike Shanahan. Again, of course, I can say Bill Belichick. Mike Shanahan, because Mike Shanahan, he treated the players like men. He gave you the rules, and he let you be who you are. Now, if you broke those rules, you had hell to pay for. So he let the players police each other. So he would give us like Victory Monday. So if we won on Sunday, we would have Victory Monday. And that means we didn't have no practice. So we already get Tuesdays off. It was a league, rule. So we win on Sunday. Most guys were making their flight that Sunday night. So they would be wherever they're going to be that Sunday night. And then they got Monday, Tuesday off. And then as long as you at practice for that first meeting on Wednesday. So I learned from Mike Shanahan to look out for your guys. To look out for them. Everybody has a life. Don't be such a robot. Don't be such a taskmaster. Be tough, but show them tough love. That's what I learned from him. And I try to do that even when I'm coaching my kids or whenever I help out a high school or a college or whatever. I talk to my players like that. I teach them tough love. Okay, I'm gonna let you do this, but if you mess it up, then you got hell to pay for. It's gone. Belichick, again, I just learned how to be a student of the game, how to, what's the word I would say for Belichick? To be adjustable. Adjustability helps you win. And a lot of people don't win in life because they don't make changes. They still think what they did 5 years ago going to work right now. And don't understand that it's nothing wrong with you. It's your structure. It's your strategy. Change it up. You still could be you, but change up your structure, change up your strategy. It'll increase yourself and it'll give yourself an opportunity to stay consistent in whatever it is you're doing. Bill Polian. I learned from Bill Polian, just loving on everybody and just, again, treating everybody like men, showing people that you care for them and they are important. Players, Peyton Manning, had an opportunity to play with him. Congratulations to him and Ty for their Hall of Fames. But I remember Peyton. I think he's one of the smartest quarterbacks I ever played with. So if I can say something from him, it's like, studying the book, studying. That guy always was studying. Omaha. So, but yeah. Tom, just tenacity, man. Tom, he's not the most gifted athlete, but Tom has a will that it's like a lion. Is it dead? Is it dead? Poke it. No, it's still alive. And so that's the mentality. Tom, he's just a fighter, man. Maybe not be the most athletic, but man, you gotta hold a mirror up to his nose and see if it fogs up. If it's fogging up, he's still alive. So, but yes, a lot of guys, man. Rodney Harrison. I go back to my Panther days. There was a guy, Carlton Bailey, 54. And also Lamar Lathan, it's a whole lot of guys, but Carlton, this is what I remember from Carlton. I used to, coming from Fort Valley, I played real hard. I'm like, I would tackle anybody, anything, man. Eddie George, we played against them one time, and I'm like, I tackle Eddie George myself, and Eddie's like a big boy. He's a big boy, man. So, but still, I had that fight. I'm like, I'm gonna take you down. So Carlton Bailey came to me one day. He said, young fella, he said, come here, let me talk to you for a minute. So I'm like, what's up, old head? What's going on? I'm like, it's funny. I'm like, my rookie year, I'm calling people old head, but now when I get to 12 years, people telling me I'm old head. So, but Carlton says, young fella, come here. He says, the name of the game is longevity. You can't make money in the training room. I'm like, what? I'm like, man, what you talking about, man? I'm like, that's how I play. I'm like, this is how I play. So it wasn't until maybe several years ago, several years after the fact, that I really saw what he meant. It didn't happen to me, but I was able to see it happen to somebody else. A real good athlete, player, gets injured, and the team used his injury, even though he still came back and was, back up to speed. They used his previous injury to keep from paying him what he really was worth. So I said, you know what? That was some wisdom that was dropped on me. That's what I try to tell other players. Play hard, but play smart. That's why whenever Dion, people used to laugh at Dion. When Dion said, hey, I made a business decision. That's basically what he's saying. He understood the league. He understands that you cannot make money in the training room. And plus, I don't need to blow the guy up if he gets into the secondary. Because if he gets into the secondary, I should just try to get him down so we can get to the next play. Why should I try to blow him up? He already got the first down. If he's in the secondary, he already got the first down. So let's just get him on the ground and, hey, let's go back to the next play. So let me jump on his back, trip his legs up. I don't need to blow him up. So that's what Carlton Bailey was trying to teach me. You don't need to blow everybody up. Adrian Peterson, Emmitt Smith was talking to Adrian. Minnesota Vikings running back. Adrian used to run over people. Hey, Adrian, man, you're not going to last long like that, man. The name of the game is to make money. You can't make money in the training room. So, yeah, those are a few stories, man, a few players, yeah.
Definitely. So another good example of that longevity is Frank Gore, the running back. It's went from team to team to team, doing exactly what you just said.